Track limits and tyre stacks. It's a topic up for discussion once again after a bit of a debacle. Donington free practice last weekend, and I mean, because we've had these track limits rules for 2 seasons now in the Btcc, and when it was introduced at the start of 2023, I interviewed a bunch of drivers who were well pissed off with it. Seeing one still are. Brands Hatch is next, and if you remember in 2023 Toyota race, Ricky Collard lost a win because of track limits. Yet 2 years on, track limits, there's the word, is still a hot potato issue. But I have a suggestion for a solution, so stick around to find out what that is. I'm privileged, not in the sense of being given something, it's more earned privilege. And in keeping with that, you've got to take the facts, find them, report them. And the great part with that role is I get trackside, get a unique perspective with track limits. I want to share it with you so you can have a better understanding of challenges when it comes to police and track limits. I'm going to provide some great examples from the Btcc and TCR. And the thing is, it's a problem that has to have a solution found. And the solutions tried so far have not worked because, for a start, the Ottawa Treaty of 1997 bans the use of anti-personnel landmines, so they're out of the question. But being serious for a moment, what we have had is cameras, tyre stacks at some circuits, pressure pads, and the eyeballs of officials and so on. And so far, none have worked conclusively on their own, and the combinations of them haven't worked properly either. You can put them all together retrospectively, but be real for a moment, because people are paying 40 quid on a race weekend for a ticket, and people are investing their weekend, all their free time, to watch it on TV. The thing is, you can't be giving them revised results on a Monday and Tuesday. The solution needs to be as immediate as possible, or people just won't watch. And, at the weekend, Token were using cameras to monitor the parts of the track where advantages could be gained, and the chicane is one of them. Now look at this. Same corner at a TCR UK race in 2021. Lewis Kent won the title that day, but in qualifying he had all 4 of his fast laps scrubbed for cutting that chicane. Overall, there was 8 laps scrubbed from that qualifying session. And in the 3 races for track limits, there were 4 penalties of 5 seconds and 1 of 10 seconds for a repeat offence. Were added on after the race. It's never great. And frankly, if we're honest, that was bollocks. There should have been a dozen more penalties in each race in qualifying if we're going to be completely honest, totally. I mean, it was just a manual system combined with pressure pads, and by God, when you see some of the still photography like this, you realise how much piss-taking there was. And when the response is not consistent from the officials, then it becomes a free-for-all. And on that day, the penalties were not making any sense at all, because human fallibility, well, it's a real problem in this, isn't it? And if any of the drivers are watching this, then this next bit I'm going to talk about will give you a bit of ammunition for arguing against the idea of judge of fact monitoring from 2 different Btcc meetings in 2023 and 2024. I'm trying to keep my train of thought because obviously I'm running a few errands on this wonderfully warm 24-degree British day. Quite unusual, isn't it? But we'll have that for some of the races this year anyway. Trying to keep my train of thought on that. One of the races I photographed and observed a corner from them 2 things, and then at another I went and stood with a corner judge of fact for a couple of sessions where they couldn't reliably and consistently make judgment calls, because it's not like being a judge of fact position for race start. The dynamics are very different from that because the cars are stationary obviously and separated. But that 2023 session, I spent a few laps observing a corner at Snetterton during a Btcc series. Hamilton, a fast left-hander from behind, was race 1 and I photographed lap 5 to make the point. It was just after the new track limits rules had been brought in. In a 15-second period, 10 cars went across the line. That marked the edge of the track. That's 1 car every 1.5 seconds. Just think about that for a minute. Yeah, back then, I also watched the official at the next corner to see what they were doing, and their job was to note down each car and then report to race control when they transgressed. It was an impossible job, and because of that, you have to constantly identify each car, and if you can't see name and number, it's not easy in the moment. It's easy to sit and look at these photos over 15 seconds with clarity and then note them, but doing it that way is not representative. I mean, over the last weekend, some drivers, they've suggested that a group of cars, when they go through a corner together, you can't monitor them all if you're a trackside judge, which is exactly what I pointed out 2 years ago at Snedden. These photos are a piece of evidence, not all the evidence for that. But last season, I went and stood with a judge of fact trackside at Croft, and this was during qualifying for the Porsche Carrera Cup and for British touring cars. I mean, the drivers have a view, and I'm not talking about opinion, I'm talking about eyeball, physical view. And for most trackside positions in public areas, it's too far away to reliably monitor a track limit. From TV broadcasts, it's quite hard. But when you get up close and try and monitor it, yeah, it's still hard. It's still not that easy. But in that Btcc qualifying, there was one reported track limits infraction, which was easy to spot because the cars went round one by one. But in the preceding Porsche qualifying session, they were coming round in bunches, and there were overall 26 laps removed for track limits. And at one point, the judge of fact beside us reported 7 infractions via the radio, but only 5 of them actually came up on the timing screens. The others were missed completely. So there's some evidence. Well, if you go trackside, to be honest, there's just some places on a track where no matter where you are, you can't get a fair line of sight with a human set of eyeballs. You're either too far away or at the wrong angle to make a call with absolute confidence. And don't get us wrong, there are places where it's easy, and those given trackside jobs to cover it, it isn't the easiest of rides. The Donington free practice situation involved a new set of cameras from Toka, and the drivers were given limits on how far over the line they could go. Just the curb itself was red and white, and beyond that there's a painted green concrete with yellow and blue raised markers, which initially they were allowed to run over one set but not the other. Then after a load of black flags, the tyre stacks came out for qualifying, which meant that they all had 10 minutes to learn new racing lines in Q1, which isn't ideal for anybody. And of course, during the races, that was always going to equate to costly damage. That's what tyre stacks do, because this is touring car racing. There's always going to be pushing and shoving, and when that happens near your tyre barriers, or tyre stacks, it's always going to have a bit of a fuck up moment, and drivers are always going to push the limit. It's part of their makeup. Take Josh Cook. He's a driver who always pushes the limits. I've seen that. I've stood on the inside of Lodge Corner in qualifying and seen him take massive chunks out of the corner, far more than other drivers, and it's fucking fantastic to watch that kind of commitment. It's on another level with that lad. At Croft, the fast Barcroft turn just before Sunny Inn, it's the same. Cook is far more aggressive, chopping the corner if you give him the option. Now look, part of my background was worked in Formula 1 before working in any kind of media, and that is an environment where you push beyond the limits until you stop. Some of the stuff I built back in the day, fucking hell, they wouldn't let it near an F1 car today. But it's something that every driver and every engineer in the BTCC should be doing. In fact, if you're not pushing beyond the limit, you're not doing your job properly. And when drivers are told to stop using a particular corner, Cook is a driver who you don't really see popping up for a telling off with black and white flags. He finds a new limit. But some keep going too far. So it does have to be policed. And the cameras are the best way and the best idea, because it's almost irrefutable evidence, and the problem spots are different at different circuits. Some are actually easier to police than others, but I hate time penalties during races, and I'm a strong believer in drive through and 10-second stop and go penalties, and I'm not one who errs on, how would you put it, that a penalty is too harsh for a small thing. It's either guilty or not guilty, black or white. Out of position or a false start, push to pass, bring them into the pits. That's just my reasoning. The one thing I don't want to see is the first 4 cars cross the line with 10-second penalties for track limits to finish 3rd, 5th, 9th and 10th because of those penalties. But I actually have my opinion for a deterrent. And as I said at the beginning of the video, and if you made it this far, let me know what you think and how you would think track limits should be penalised and policed. To me, if you keep breaching track limits after warnings on race day, you should get hit with an NASCAR type penalty. You keep your position, but you get deducted points. But in addition, you have to stay in the pits for the first 5 minutes of the first qualifying session at the next round. But for the final race weekend of the year, it's different. And in that, I think there should be immediate punishment for drivers with a mathematical chance of winning the title. And having said that, just watch the entire token package go to Brands Hatch next week and not cause a single track limits problem. Anyway, cheers for watching. You know what buttons do what. If you want to stay informed, give them a push. Right, now that's out of me now for the important stuff. I can hear somebody playing shite fucking dance music when they're driving through a fucking car park. Nobody gives a fuck. It's shit. You're making yourself look like a fucking tit end. Anyway, I've just been at a fucking Sainsbury's, and you know when they fucking change all the aisles around, the twats. Well, for fuck's sake, the salt is fucking 4 aisles away from the fucking sauces, or ketchup if you're posh. And the vinegar, fucking AWOL. So that's my fish and chips fucked until I go to Tesco. So fuck you on that, Sainsbury's. Second on your Sainsbury's to fuck you with is your lemons. We're going to make a lovely lemon drizzle cake with real lemon juice. But your fucking lemons, they're rotten, they're wrinkly, they're like piss-coloured old man's testicles that have been in the fucking bath too long. Sort it out. And thirdly, the one that I love, I always love this, it always happens. Whenever you get a new fucking security guard, always follow me around. It's because I've got fucking long hair and I'm wearing a t-shirt, a hooded top that by some fuckwits might consider it to be slightly religiously offensive or something. Fucking hell. But I tell you what, I won that one. The silly cunt followed us around. I stopped in the cereal aisle and then I followed him. All the way back to his little fucking desk. I gave him a wink as if I was going to walk out and turned round and finished off me shopping. Yeah. Suck on me cheb, you fucking bellend.